Blackout is upon us, Terpsville, this Friday night at SECU Stadium. Friday night lights. That's right, put your black on, get on down to College Park as the Maryland Terps return from a much needed bye. Come home to face Northwestern in a pivotal game, which is a must win for the Terps. We're going to talk about it here on the Fleck Zone podcast, only place giving you your Maryland Terps content how you want it, when you need it. God's favorite host. We had a week off of Terps football content, but after the bye, went back better than ever. Make sure you guys sack that subscribe button if you're new. Stick that like button, leave us a thumbs up. It helps us out tremendously. Gets this video to Maryland fans here, there, and everywhere. Sound off in the comment section. It helps us out tremendously. Thoughts on the game, keys to the game, prediction. Something about the season so far, or if you have nothing else to say, leave your favorite emoji. It helps us out tremendously. And cost you nothing in a world where everything is going up. The Flex Zone is staying always at the right price. But let's get to it. We're going to talk about Maryland and Northwestern. We're going to take a look back at last week, 2 weeks ago at Indiana, and kind of what went wrong, and kind of looking ahead to what we have in Northwestern. And I got breaking news. We know when homecoming, Maryland Terps, that game against USC, as USC will be coming to College Park. That game's time and network has been announced. Let's rock out. Stick with me through the entire video. I'll get you caught up as well on everything Terps football as we get ready to get back to action on Friday Night Lights with the Blackout. For all black units, you can't beat those. And the Terps will do it on Friday night. 2 weeks ago, because you know we had the bye, we did face the Indiana Hoosiers, the undefeated Indiana Hoosiers, who are now at first place in the Big Ten at 3-0 in the conference, 6-0 overall. You got the Ohio State 2-0, 5-0. They play Oregon this week, who is 2-0, 5-0. So somebody's O's got to go. Big weekend in the Big Ten. Then you got Penn State playing USC before they come here. So USC does not have an easy week ahead before they head to Maryland. Got to come west to east. That's never easy also. They play Penn State on Saturday also. So we could have a lot more losses. And don't forget, USC did lose to Minnesota last week amidst all the other crazy upsets that I'm sure you know about by now in college football. And they will be coming here in 2 weeks. We got homecoming, and we still have to play Minnesota on the road coming up also. But against Indiana, the same things, same old Terps, SOT. You can go ahead, comment it down below. Same old Terps. And unfortunately, as a Maryland fan, unfortunately as a Maryland supporter, unfortunately as a Maryland content creator where I do make content about what they do, I have to be critical, but also understanding that sometimes the more things change, the more they stay the same. 4 turnovers. I even said in my video, you can go back and watch it. I said Indiana has no turnovers coming into this game. They're going to give us at least one. And I think we're going to win this game because of that. Not only did they give us one, not only did they give us 2, not only did they give us 3, they gave us 4 turnovers. And Maryland, on 3 of the 4 turnovers, went 3 and out. 0 points out of the 4 turnovers. And you lose still by double digits. You still lose by 17 points? Unacceptable. Same old Terps. And it comes down to simple things that I've noticed over the years that have not changed with Maryland football, no matter what we continue to try to do. First and foremost, Maryland continues to beat themselves. That's my key every week. Play a clean game. Play mistake-free football. Don't beat yourselves. No stupid penalties. Play discipline. Maryland continues to beat themselves, and it's year after year getting double-digit penalties, getting all these penalty yards. The amount of calls that just happen on the offensive line alone per game, it's too many. And that has to be with Locksley, his coaching staff, his coaches. They have to be held accountable. This is year 6, people. Yes, he's been here 6 years. And this is the same problem he's been having in year 1. And this is unacceptable. I do like Locksley. Obviously, he's not going to get fired. He's not going to get let go of his duties this year. like we've heard with Harbaugh, like we've seen with Brandon Hyde. He ain't going nowhere. He's locked in. He's owed a lot of money. They don't have a better replacement out there for him. He's tied to a lot of the recruits. I think one of the best things he is doing is his recruiting ability. And I don't think they're going to get rid of that and start over, especially when he has next year, especially, I think, his guys coming in, more of his guys, quarterback especially, and other players around him. So I will give him the grace, but we have to, over these last six or so games, see an improvement with Maryland in their discipline and ability to not beat themselves. Because how are you going to beat another team if you're always beating yourself? If I'm constantly shooting myself in the foot, I can't aim my weapon and constantly attack my opponent, my adversary. I am going to beat myself. And they don't have to do anything but just show up. And honestly, Indiana didn't really do anything out of the norm. I think after a while they just wore us down because we weren't able to score points. And let's not talk about the injuries to Felton and others, but my goodness, I think Prather went down as well. Offensive linemen being subbed in and out, putting in true freshmen. It was just a cluster Franklin in Indiana. And credit to them. They're 6-0, and they look like they are going to have a really good season. I'm intrigued to see how their season plays out. Now, Maryland is favored in this game. They are, as I share my screen in a second, they are 10.5 point favorites over under 45.5. I like Maryland in this game, and I like them to cover that 11 points. Secondly, the offensive line, it's weak. I mentioned it. You got true freshmen. You got guys who really just aren't performing to the capabilities that they have, the talent inside of them too. I don't know what it is. They have to get better up front. Until they get better offensively on the offensive line, and the defensive line, in the trenches where games are won and lost. It's a game of inches. Games are won and lost in the trenches. This team will continue to be mediocre. They will continue to let you down when you have faith that they have the receivers like Ty Felton, when they have a decent quarterback in Billy Edwards, when they have Roman Hembry and Ryan, Nolan Ryan, and or Ray, excuse me, Ray, and have Prather and others who can do damage. But if you're constantly beating yourself, you don't have the protection up front, you're screwed royally. And thirdly, which we've seen this season, I mean, the Michigan State game, is Michigan State really better than Maryland? Maybe, but they played 10 times. They probably split. But the conference has gotten a lot better. We know about USC. We know about Oregon. We know about Washington, who just beat Michigan, reigning defending national champions. We know about these teams. We know about the heavy hitters. We know about Michigan State. We now have to worry about teams like Indiana. We now have to worry about teams like Rutgers, who the Terps are going to have a tough game against Rutgers, even though it's at home. I mean, Northwestern last year, they lost to Northwestern. You got Minnesota, who just beat USC. This conference has gotten extremely better. And even UCLA, who sucks, they're 0-3, 1-4, they're going to get better. Purdue, 0-2, 1-4, they are going to get better. Northwestern, I think they will get better next year. Maryland, right there at the bottom of the pack, no wins in the Big Ten, 0-2, tied with Northwestern, Purdue, and UCLA. And that is honestly, looking at it, that is about where Maryland is. That is where they line up because they didn't beat Michigan State. They still have to play USC. They got to go on the road to Minnesota. You don't have Wisconsin this year. You play Iowa later this year. You play Rutgers later this year. You don't have Illinois. You don't have Michigan. You don't have Nebraska. You don't have Washington. You don't. You have Penn State. You have Oregon. So even though you're dodging Ohio State and Michigan and the Wisconsins of the world and the other teams like Illinois, you're still realizing that you gotta look in the mirror and realize what we have is not good enough to compete in this conference as it only gets better and continues to expand. Like I said, they beat themselves, the offensive line is weak, and the conference has gotten a lot better. Let's get to the game preview on this Maryland Terps, and I actually got to look at the black unis as I already wanted to get into this game. We got to know that we know what happened last game. Maryland just isn't good enough, obviously, with them beating themselves. They have the talent, but until they get the discipline, it doesn't matter. You see the wonderful black uniforms they'll be wearing with the script Terps logo. Maryland's 3-2, 0-2 in the Big Ten, as I mentioned, looking for their first Big Ten win. 2-3 is Northwestern, 0-2 in the Big Ten. This game will be at 8 p.m. on Friday night, Friday Night Lights, where you're black at College Park on Fox or FS1, depending on where you watch your games as well. Maryland is playing its fifth consecutive Friday night games, two played in 2021. They won four straight primetime games. They're 4-1 to their last five played on a Friday. Since 2020, the Terps have picked up wins over Minnesota, Illinois, NC State, and Virginia from 2020 to 2023, and they won four consecutive night games. Virginia this year, Virginia last year, Charlotte last year, and SMU in 2022. Last time Northwestern was in College Park in October of 2022, October 22nd, 2022. It was homecoming. The Terps won 31-24, and they earned bowl eligibility for the earliest date in 20 years. That was actually Billy Edwards' first start, and he played for injured Talia Tagovailoa, 18 of 20, 188 yards, 66 yards on the ground, and Hemby had a 75-yard touchdown run to break a 24 all tie with 3:22 left. That was a very good game, and that's what I think that was a play when I really noticed that Hemby was a bell cow. He was an every down back, and he had some explosiveness as well, which we saw against Indiana. He had a really nice run, even though they did bottle up a lot of the running game as well. And he had three rushing touchdowns in that game. That was the first since Javon Leake against Illinois in 2018. And he had the most rushing yards by a Terp since Jake Funk had 180 in 2020. Tremendous tie. Ty Felton, I guess he's going to play this week. I haven't heard that he's going to be out. Looks like he may have been battling a concussion, but the bye week couldn't have come at a better time. 46 receptions, 642 yards. You got to give Indiana credit. They contained him, but my boy Prather did step up. Prather is a wonderful prospect, and I can't wait to see what he becomes as Ty Felton continues to elevate. He's the first Maryland player since 1993 with 600-plus receiving yards in the first 5 games. Jermaine Lewis did it, former Raven, with 670. He was named to the Blitnikoff Award watch list last week in 4 consecutive 100-yard games to start the season as well. The first Terp in program history to do so, third Big Ten player since 1996. Garrett Wilson of Ohio State, currently of the Jets, Charles Rogers of Michigan State in 2002. Second Terp to have any 4 consecutive games with 100-plus receiving yards since Jermaine Lewis as well. The Terps lead all power conferences with turnovers. They have been doing that very well, plus 11. Only 3 other Big Ten teams had a plus 11 turnover margin through 5 games. Penn State in 2023, Iowa in 2021, and Wisconsin in 2022. That's all wonderful numbers. Those are all wonderful and painted greatly for the Terps. And I got on my red cardigan and I'm repping my Terps with my wonderful new background. But when you turn the ball over, when you get turnovers and you really commit turnovers of your own with constant penalties, it's all for nothing. You break even. You don't gain anything. It's like kissing your sister. You don't win it. And you see that here with the Terps. But Billy Edwards, he's completing 72.3% of his passes and his 11th touchdown against Indiana, 4th in the Big Ten as well. Roman Hemby had 117 yards, as I mentioned, 75-yard touchdown, only 10 carries with 5 catches for 48 yards. He passed 2,000 rushing yards for his career and 2,500 scrimmage yards for his career as well. So Roman Hemby, being what I pretty much thought he was going to be, one of the best players on this offense. Obviously, Ty Felton is kind of taking the honor of number 1, but right there behind him, you got Hemby, you got Edwards, you got Prather. So you got a nice constant group of individuals there, and the skill players of Maryland who deserve some love. But this game is simple. I think you got to start fast. You got to feed off the energy of the crowd. I think the crowd will be good enough. It'll be decent weather. It'll be a fall night, but a Friday night game, blackout, I think people will be there present as we get ready for Northwestern. I really think this game it's in my opinion, as I look at some of their notable players, I really don't fear anything they do. I mean, their quarterback has only thrown for 500 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Jake Alosh, Mr. Porter, the running back, leads them with 50 carries, 249 yards. AJ Henning is their leading receiver, 31 receptions, 296 yards. So I really don't have a fear of their offense, especially. Maryland lost to Indiana 42-28. So They lost by 14, not 17. Indiana beat Northwestern by 17. They lost to Washington 24-5. What the hell is going on there? 31-7, 26-20, and 13-6. So clearly they have trouble and a lot of ineptitudes offensively, scoring points. So I think Maryland, if they can score anything over 20, they win this game, and they should win it comfortably. I do like Maryland to cover that 11 points. Now that I see these scores, only scoring 5 points at Washington, only 7 points against EIU, who I do not know who that is. Who is EIU? Let's see. Let's see who EIU is, and let's see.
Who? Go
Yes,
Google it.
EIU. Oh, Eastern Illinois Panthers, and I did Google it, so that's who they are. And they are, what is that record? They're 1-5, and they're in the Big South, and they only could put up what 7 points against them. I like Maryland's chances. I'm confident this weekend in Maryland. I'm confident in the Ravens, which I'll get into when you see my Ravens and Commanders video. I'm confident in both local teams. Like I said, I think start fast for Maryland, win the turnover battle yet again. Because I think if you win the turnover battle against this team early on, you can really put up some points. And I think they're packing it in by the third quarter. Feed off the crowd, run the football. I think you want to establish the run the football, win time of possession, and I think execute your big plays when you can. If Felton is healthy and 100%, I expect another big day from Ty Felton, and honestly, I would expect another big day from Prather as well. I think they have a big time opportunity to put up, I think, over 30 points against this team. Offensively, though, I think when you look at the Indiana game, I really, really like what they did do offensively. I think really with this game, I did want to point out a note that I did like with the receivers. I know we got Felton. I know we have Prather, but I really like it was the returner, Braden Wislowski, 3 receptions for 59 yards. He's a primary returner for the Terps, averaged 19.7 per reception, 37-yard long. I'd love to see them use him more. I'd love to see him used more in a 3 wide receiver set. I'd love to see him get some screens, maybe get some jet sweeps, get some opportunities down the field, some slant routes, some screens, like I mentioned. He has the speed. You got Felton, you got Prather who had a touchdown. Like I said, they did a really good job on Felton, but you got other weapons. You got Prather, you got Wislowski. Hemby caught 5 passes, and I think that's very very good to know because I would like to see him used more, and I think that's going to be a key because I think a lot of teams they are stacking the box against Maryland, not allowing them to run. Like I mentioned, Hemby only had 10 touches. Ray only had 5 for 15. McDonald 5 for 14. I like the three-headed monster. They're getting everybody their touches, but only 30 carries for 112 yards, so only 3.7 per attempt. So even Billy Edwards, he still has not had a game that's really memorable as far as him running with his legs. Could be against Northwestern. I think Northwestern's defense is ahead of their offense, but I see Maryland really getting a win here. And I think defensively, if they can limit big plays, because Surratt had 7 for 128, that boy looked really good, the transfer, and Cooper had 4 for 83, and Miles Price 2 for 63 against Indiana. But with that said, I like Maryland to cover. I think Northwestern struggles offensively to score a lot of points. I think their quarterback play is leaves a lot to be desired. I don't think they really have many weapons either. And I think Maryland, if they can get up early and make this team play from behind, we could see a 34-17, a 31-21 type of game. I'm leaning more to the maybe 34 23, maybe. I'm thinking maybe 34-23 Maryland. And if Northwestern scores 23, it could be a lot of late points because Maryland could be up by the end of the third quarter, putting in the MJ Morrises of the world. Felton, Hemby could be on the bench, Edwards, and we could see more Ray and McDonald. So I like Maryland in this game. I am confident. Like I said, looking at Maryland's schedule, they have to win this game because if they don't win this game, fall to 0-3 in the Big Ten, fall to 3-3, it gets no easier. We know USC. Speaking of that, the homecoming game we have the news on the homecoming game. As we know, that will be October 13th. And let me pull that up for you guys real quick. It has been announced for a 4 p.m. kickoff. I love it. I love a nice 4 p.m. kickoff. And it will be broadcast on Fox Sports 1. It was just announced on Monday, as it will be the homecoming for the Maryland Terps, as USC is 3-2, 1-2. But as I mentioned, they host Penn State on Saturday at the Coliseum. That could be a game they lose. Now, if USC falls to 3-3, 2-2 in the Big Ten, having to come west to east, they could blow us out, which a lot of people might predict on homecoming, but it could be a get me game where the Terps could be in it. Let's not forget the Ohio State game last year. The last two, I think, Ohio State games. Last year on the road, and I think 2 years ago when they had them at home. This could be a game. Oh, no, Michigan at home last year. And it was Ohio State too, I think, 2 years ago. But Michigan at home last year and the game at Ohio State. Turnovers and penalties did the Terps in. That could be a situation where I think that game is going to be closer than people think. But that will be the 19th, 4 p.m. kickoff, and it will be on Fox Sports 1. And as we mentioned, they got Indiana at home. I mean, they had Indiana on the road. They had Indiana on the road, have Northwestern at home for Friday Night Lights, get an extra day with homecoming on the 19th. Then you go to Minnesota, who beat USC. Then you go to Oregon. Then you go to You have Rutgers and Iowa at home. Then you go to Penn State. So really, if you don't win this game, you could realistically lose out. You could really realistically lose the rest of the games. Not that I think they will, because if they only end up with 3 wins, that would be ridiculous. Only 3 wins. You need what, 6 to be bowl eligible? Will they even get the bowl eligibility? Let's see. They win this week. This will be what, win 4? They would get to 4-2. I had them. Then you got USC. If they lose 4-3, 4-4, 4-5, 4-6, 4-7, 4-8. If this team finishes 4-8, which I don't hope happens, I'm gonna have some words for them. Somebody's gonna get there. Somebody needs to be held accountable. Somebody needs to be brought to the front of the congregation, and they may need to be beat with the belt. Because if that is the case and this team collapses like that, boy oh boy. That's all I can say. So stay tuned. It'll be great viewing, but it won't be exciting for me. But I think this is when you got to get to 4-2. Could you beat Minnesota on the road? Yes, but do you have confidence that the Terps are going to go on the road and beat Minnesota now after they beat USC? Do they start those in? At Oregon, that's a death sentence. Rutgers, they may be favored, but that's not going to be an easy game. Then you got Iowa. They have one of the best defenses in the country. And then Penn State, ranked number 4. They'll be looking to clinch, I'm guessing, a trip to probably the Big Ten championship game if they can continue to, of course, beat USC, beat some of the other teams on their schedule, and then have Maryland at home as the last game. Man, that would be a nice look for them. So we'll see. But they got to get to 6 wins. Do I see 3 more? That's 4. That's 1. Maybe Minnesota and Rutgers, so they may barely get to 6. But you really got to win it. You got to win Friday against Northwestern. You got to beat Minnesota, and you got to beat Rutgers. So those are your 3 games you got to get. That would get you to 6. And then that would get you to what? 6, 3, 4, 5. So that would get you to 6. So you play 12. 6-6, I guess, is what we'll take. 500. Ooh, what about next year when the schedule's probably even tougher? And teams in the Big Ten are even a year better. Not trying to look ahead, but it could be interesting to see what happens with the Maryland Terps here coming up. But for the Terps, like I said, start fast, win the turnover battle, feed off the crowd, establish the run, make a couple big plays when you can, and defensively, take advantage of their ineptitude offensively. Don't let them move the ball up and down the field. Don't let them get big plays. Don't let them get confident and hang around. And no stupid penalties. Please, can we get under 5 penalties? I'm not asking for a lot. Under 5 penalties? Is that too much to ask for this team? Maybe. But we'll see. Lots in this team, if they come off a bye and they're still undisciplined and they're not playing with focus and confidence, then we got a serious problem with the leadership of this team. And I don't know where we go from here. But they got to win. They need to win on Saturday. On Friday night. Then play next Saturday, 4 p.m. on Fox Sports 1 for homecoming. And we'll be here talking about it. We'll be here recapping it. They're 3-2, looking for their first Big Ten win. 0-3 currently in the Big Ten. 0-2 currently in the Big Ten. Hopefully I didn't speak too soon. 0-2 currently in the Big Ten. But this is a game you gotta win. You got to beat Northwestern at home. You got to handle your business. Friday Night Lights, nationally televised audience. Don't wet the bed. Don't lay a pterodactyl or turpin-sized egg. You're probably going to have some recruits in there. You're going to have some big-time names. Do what you do. Play your game. Stay focused. Don't take them for granted. Be disciplined. Utilize your talent advantages and do what you do best. Be fundamentally sound. Don't beat yourself and take advantage of their ineptitudes. Please, 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 please. And hopefully we can get Ty Felton and Prather going. Hopefully they're healthy. Hopefully they play. Those are the two main injuries I'm looking at. Hopefully Billy Ellis can maybe do a little things with his legs. Like I said, I'm going with the Terps to win. I'm going with the Terps to cover. I'm a little bullish on them this week. I don't think Northwestern is that good personally this year. I think they've taken a step back, lost a lot of guys, veteran guys, last season after they were very good and did indeed beat Maryland. But I'm going with the Terps. I'm going with the Terps to get the win. I do think they get the 34-23 win, and they get to 4-2. And we see how the rest of the season does play out. But what say you, Terps? What say you, Flexible family? What are you looking forward to seeing this week? Are you happy Terps football is back? Sound off in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. Like I said, it helps us out tremendously. Prediction, keys to the game, anything you're looking forward to seeing. How are you feeling after the bye? Do they make the bowl game? Do they get to 6 wins? What is their final record looking at their schedule? You let me know. Helps us out tremendously. Even if you don't have any comments on that, leave an emoji. Leave your favorite emoji. It helps us out tremendously. Hit the thumbs up. Leave us a like button. I know you like me in my red cardigan. Is this a new thing I'm going to have to start doing? Let me know. Also, visually, audio wise, how do I look? How do I sound? Got a new camera, working on some new things with the podcast, with the videos, trying to give you guys the best production in the community when it comes to the podcast, the Ravens, the Orioles, the Terps videos, the podcasts and live streams we do with professional wrestling. We want to make sure we not only are the best, but we look and sound what we bring to the table. So sound off and let me know what you think about that as well. Give me a score prediction. Anything you're looking forward to? Will you be at homecoming? Really looking forward to with the USC game? And anything else with the Big Ten? It's wild and wacky stuff. College football is all over, and we're all over. Remember, Terps football here on the Flex on Podcast. Only place giving you your Terps coverage every minute when you need it. A lot of content, a lot of information. I miss you guys. We're back at the bye week is over. Let's get back to business, Terps. Handle your business. Beat Northwestern. Let's get ready for USC on homecoming. I'll be back next week to talk to you about it. What the results are, good, bad, and ugly. And we're less than a month away from basketball. Look for some basketball videos. Kevin Willard and his squad, less than a month away from tip. And a big time recruit. I want to talk about that maybe in a separate video. We'll see. And they are doing well for recruiting as well. And I think this year, I think they are going to be better than they were last year. Does that lead to the NCAA tournament? We'll see. I have my season preview coming real soon. I look at the roster, look at the schedule. They got Georgetown, they got some big time games, Virginia. So the schedule lines up interestingly, some major marquee games at home and on the road. So it should be fun. And it's always fun with you here on the Flex on Podcast. Only place giving you your Terps coverage how you want it when you need it. Subscribe, stick that subscribe button, stick that like button, and make sure you guys sound off in the comment section. Hit that bell to know when all of our videos drop. And when the new content that you want to see is here as well. And as always, make sure you guys let me know your thoughts and what you're looking forward to see. And we'll see what the Terps do. I'm going to the Terps win 34-23, cover that spread. And go boom. We'll see you in the next video. The Terps, the Blackout on Friday. Remember that. If you want to the game, be safe and fun. Homecoming next Saturday. Everybody here on Flex on Podcast.